Cool. Okay. Yeah. So thanks for having us. It's the first time I've done this with you guys. Obviously, it's been a crazy year, so I thought I would focus the presentation on how we've dealt with developing games through the pandemic. It seems contextually relevant. I'm the head of the PMO at Sumo Digital, so we've got a lot of studios in the UK, one in India, we just bought one in Poland. We have other companies, obviously, in the US, but I'm head of PMO for Sumo Digital. So the last year, obviously, I look after all the studios, and we have many projects with production teams and project managers, and the PMO is there to support them. But through the pandemic, we've obviously had to keep an eye on the impacts and effects of what's happened over the last year. So that's what I thought I'd focus on right now. So a little bit about Sumo, for those that may or may not know Sumo Digital. Started out in Sheffield, where I was born as Gremlin, became Infograms, and then was reborn at Sumo Digital in 2003. You can see some of the studios in the UK and India under there. Some of them are obviously named Sumo Digital, but we do have Red Kite, the Chinese Room, and Lab 42 and Pixelant, which is the most recent acquisition in Poland, that are keeping their names. And you can also see a little bit of the product timeline. We've had a lot of games coming out, the most recent of which is probably Sackboy in the PS5. If any of you have played that, releasing a game through a pandemic on a new platform in a pandemic was a challenge, but the team did absolutely fantastically well, and it's well received. So I thought what I'd do a little bit about me. Born and bred in Sheffield. I studied at Sheffield University and went to the IT and software development industry. I worked for big e-commerce and corporate businesses, and then had the chance to move into games in 2012. I'd always wanted to get into games, but it's not the easiest subject to get into. But software being a little bit more mature than games, Sumo wanted to try and bring some more structure and project management into it. So I joined then. I worked on a couple of projects, finishing off with Crackdown, which was a big project that we did. Became program manager, and then we introduced the concept of the PMO last year because of the growth that we've had. I think we had 300 staff when I joined at the beginning, and we're up to about 900 now. Obviously, through the pandemic, I'm lucky enough to work in one of the industries that is doing okay. It's a lot of work, but it's something that is able to survive at the moment, and bringing entertainment to people as well. A little bit about my background in training as well. I've done a lot of stuff around leadership, Agile, Prince 2, ITIL, and then most recently Scaled Agile. Obviously, the bigger the projects, Scaled Agile seems to be something that can support that as well. So that's a little bit about me. I thought what I would do, obviously I can't talk about the specifics of the games we're working on. It's all very, tied up in NDAs and things like that. But I thought I've got 3 slides here. One which is about how COVID has affected the games development industry. One about how we look at productivity impact through COVID. And then the final slide will be about some of the plus points and the good sides of COVID. So going back way to February, March last year, obviously it hit home that we needed to get people back. We've got a lot of studios in the UK, and we moved everybody from working from the office to working from home in about 3 days. It was an incredible feat, technology-wise, by the IT company and IT departments. But it's we've proved that we can do it. Many other industries have done it as well, but it was a real shift to doing it. The real impacts, we have projects ranging from maybe 10 people to 150 people on them, and the parts that have become difficult is remote planning, remote development, and mainly sort of your quality assurance, build reviews, user testing, that kind of stuff as well. You know, when people are in the office, they can interact and do stuff together. I'm sure all of you are aware, as am I. Half my calendar now is full of meetings on Teams and Zoom and things like that. So trying to reduce that is one thing. But the teams have done fantastically well over the last 12 months. You know, we've released a lot of games, most recently Sackboy on the PlayStation 5. That was, you know, a new game on a new title, on a new platform, right in the middle of the pandemic. So, you know, they did a fantastic job. The hardest part probably, you know, when you're planning software or games and things like that, is bouncing ideas off each other, and we've used Teams and we've used Zoom and we've done various different ways to try and mimic that kind of effect in the office. And the teams are doing great. I think the areas, like I said to you, Leon, that I really wanted to focus on was quality assurance, and this is probably one of the hardest parts, because, you know, some of our games, you know, if I take Sackboy for example, some of them maybe 150 gig in size, you know, and when you've got fast, you know, Ethernet cables and things in your offices and your buildings, you know, you can pass builds to machines very quickly, get your smoke tests, UATs, and your QA guys doing the, you know, fast turnaround on quality and bugs. That's probably one of the hardest areas that has hit us, and probably software development as well, because it's easy enough to pass 150 gig over a fast connection in your office. Passing it to somebody's house, getting them to test it, and then pushing it back is a whole different ball game. And that's something that we're always looking at. But the guys have done fantastically well. And like I say, Leon, if anybody wants to talk to me more about that, it's or if anybody's got any better ideas, I'd love to talk to them about it, because it's probably one of the hardest areas, other than, you know, just keeping, you know, team camaraderie and things like that. Yeah, looking down here, you know, as I've just said, half of my calendar is booked up with Teams meetings. Communication has gone through the roof since we've all been working from home. I'm sure you're all feeling the same as well, and homeschooling as well is adding to that too. One thing that Sumo is really trying to do, which is fantastic, is trying to keep the teams connected, you know, sending out packs, doing quiz nights, trying to do things that is trying to keep that camaraderie, that buzz, the relationships that we're all struggling from. I'm really interested to see the networking stuff at the end of this, because it's a technology I've not seen and maybe we could use as well. And the last part on this is the standard workday, and I think you can all agree on this one. Different people start and finish at the different ends and times. I've got a little girl at home schooling. Some people work late at night, some people work early in the morning. You've got calls all over the place. It's been very difficult to try and keep a regular routine, which is something that is so important for, you know, the health of, you know, your staff and all of us. So, you know, it will be interesting to see where that goes when we get to a kind of post-vaccine point of view. But we're all getting there. But yeah, it's the impact of those, you know, those meetings and calls and stuff where it's taking time away from the development teams. But, you know, I won't go into it now, but you can look on our website. You know, we've shipped a lot of projects. We've hit a lot of milestones that, you know, we expected to hit. And, you know, I can only hold my hands up to the teams. They've done fantastically well to move from working together to working from home. The second slide then, so let me make up a tea. The second slide then is what I've been working on very heavily, which is looking at the health and the impact of COVID. This was one of the big things for me as head of PMO to look at. So, you know, we have many projects, and we wanted to get a feel for, you know, surely there was going to be some kind of effect. Yes, it took us 3 days to get people to working from home, but the plan would take longer, QA would take longer, sign off would, etc. This is taken off our Sumo Group website, so it's public domain. Obviously, it refers to project A, B, and C. But like many software or games companies, we use software tracking tools to look at what kind of work people are doing and how many hours they're chalking off. So these charts are basically taken daily, put through Power BI to give us a feel for project health. There are dips, peaks and troughs. They can be when we are delivering milestones, because these graphs are based on task work, not bug work. So a dip is not a negative. As you can see, normally the dip is going into bug work, and then we'll ship a milestone, which is the red dots. The interesting thing there is, you know, this goes from when we went into COVID, which is the red line, to about September when this was published. We continuously track this, but overall, the trend is pretty horizontal. The orange one is interesting, and that comes down to project closure. So, you know, when you are moving into that heavy QA section, we looked at that orange chart and thought, oh, is that a concern? But actually, it was. Hello, darling. I'm just on this call. Just give me a second, please. Sorry, that's my daughter. Grab one of those apples, Papa. So yeah, so it wasn't a sign for concern. It was a trend that we expected, because this is task work and not bug work, and then we look at bugs as well. Give me 5 minutes, sweetie. Give me 5 minutes. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. My daughter wants to eat a biscuit. Bear with me. Really. I must apologise about that. So that's my daughter there. So yeah, so we do this to basically keep an eye on project health. It's not about policing. It's to try and give us confidence in how the projects are going, and how the teams are, you know, managing to keep up with working from home. As you can see down the left-hand side, you know, all studios are working remotely effectively. We've delivered every single milestone that was promised up to that point, and that's why I put based on chart, because obviously we have to be careful on what we put in the public domain. So this was the last one that was published, and the last thing, project closure, is more challenging, and that's the orange line. That's all about passing massive 150 gig data files to people at home, passing them back. But you know, for those that don't know Sumo, we are very strong. We're doing very well. The games industry is healthy, but that is one of the areas that we're looking at to see what we can do about it. And then the last one. So I thought I would try and finish my talk with some positives. I know everybody's feeling the pace. You just see my daughter come in and ask for some biscuits. There have been some positives, and I've tried to put some down here. So I've actually found doing the Zoom calls or the Teams calls really interesting, because rather than sitting in a meeting room, you can see your colleagues, you can see the kids, you can see the pets, see their interests, get to know them a little bit better. We've had a lot more user engagement with games, and esports industry has blossomed through this period. And esports is a huge thing now. You know, for the football fans or the Formula One fans, those teams have their own gamers doing esports now as well. Obviously, revenues have gone up for e-commerce and game sectors and platforms. But you know, we're aware of obviously other people. You know, other people are struggling. Socialising with your friends and family. You know, my brother lives down in London. My mum and dad live on the other side of the city. Getting them able to be technologically savvy has been fun, but it's at least given us a way of communicating with each other. I'm touching on home learning. So like with my daughter, you know, I'm trying to teach her the stuff that the BBC are doing and the stuff that the schools are doing wouldn't be possible without the technology we have. And then into games, we've got physics-based games like Portal, or there's games set in mythological areas, Greece, Rome, things like that, which is actually teaching some of the kids about that. And obviously there's physical education games as well. And then lastly, demographics. Players are getting older. I've even had my dad playing games now as well. So it's giving them something to do as well, and it's incredibly fun to play with my dad on a game when he told me not to get into the games industry in the first place. So trying to finish on a positive. I hope some of that's really interesting for you guys. And any questions, if you can send to Leon, I will try and answer. You can add me on LinkedIn, and I'll pass on to the next person.